Hey guys, what's going on? It's Nomad TCG here, and today I'm going to bring you guys an interesting take on the Machina deck. So lately this deck's been gaining a lot of popularity in Edison format, and I largely believe that's probably due to the fact that it has a great Blackwing matchup. Besides that, Gearframe is literally a Stratos, and this fetches you Fortress, or it can fetch you a singular card that you can discard to revive your Fortress, and Fortress is a house. It is so difficult to get over this card. This list is a little bit different. I wanted to take like a more stun-like approach, and I'll explain more of that as we go on. After the deck profile, I'll probably get into a game for you guys that I've played. That's just going to be a replay, show you guys what the deck can do. So without further ado, here we go. Alright, so we got the 3 Gearframe and the 3 Fortress and only 2 Machina Force. The reason I'm only on 2 Force is the fact that we do play Avarice, and I honestly don't want to be drawing like a bunch of these cards and like Caius and like Gores or Trag, because then your hand's just going to get depleted fast. It's really awkward. So largely I wanted to cut this guy down to 2 and not play 3. Still an amazing card, and you can always grab it off the Gearframe, and like I said, if you mill both, you got Avarice to recycle it back. So then we play the double Caius. I tried 1, but just not comfortable with cutting it down that low, so I think 2 is the right number. We're playing 3 Raikou and only 2 Hamster and a Lila. So I like this ratio a lot, simply because I tried out 3 Hamster, 3 Raikou, but I wanted to make room for this next card, which is Thunder King Ryo. Now, the reason I really like this card, and I like DD Warrior Lady a lot, is because your Fortress is usually going to lose out to cards like Bottomless Trap Hole or cards like Dimensional Prison, and your Raikous and your Lilas do a good job of not only breaking those cards up, but paving the way for you to get kill shots in. And that's another thing that these cards do. So most people, when you slam down a Thunder King Ryo, it's a pretty threatening card. You can't search, and it's going to be able to negate an inherit summon. So if they go for a Synchro, if they go for like Chaos Sorcerer, so it's really nice. This card can even negate Dad. So I feel like the opponents, from my experience, mostly when I slam this card down, they're using Bottomless Trap Hole, they're using Dimensional Prison, which paves way for the Fortress to come out. Same with the DD Warrior Lady. This card is like a bait card. It also is a super great form of removal, just like the Raikou and just like the Lila. And then we're playing Gores and we're playing Tragodia. So both of these cards, you know, they stop us from dying, which is really important. With this deck, you can definitely have points in time where you just have a large hand. So the Trag is really nice. Plus the level manipulation with the Plague Spreader Zombie is really nice. I will show you guys in the game something very cool I did with Trag and Plague. And then we play the 1 copy of Card Trooper. It is Machine. It helps us mill and fuel the graveyard. Plus it's super good when it dies. You draw a card. You know, this is like just one of those cards that's super good in any deck that wants to put cards in the graveyard. And then we're playing just 2 Avarice. 3 was a little clunky for me, so I think 2 is a really good number for this deck. And then 2 Book of Moon. I've honestly grown to become a huge fan of this card lately. You know, you can use it offensively, you can use it defensively. You can put Caius down, he's only 1,000. So if your opponent has a Caius, you can run it over with almost anything in this deck. You can use this to protect like your Thunder King, protect your Fortress. You can use this to stop yourself from dying. You can rebook your Hamsters and your Raikous. I mean, this card is just super versatile. Then we're playing the Heavy Storm and the MST, of course. Charge the Light Brigade to get any of our Lightsworn cards. And then also fuel the graveyard for our Fortress. And then we play Brain Control. It's the last spell card. And then for trap lineup, so this is a 41 card deck. We're playing the Call the Haunted. I really like this card a lot too, just to revive Fortress, revive Thunder King. Revive like any of these big monsters, or revive a Synchro, like even a DD Warrior Lady you've milled. Like this card's really nice in this deck. And then we're playing Mirror Force, Trap Dust Shoot, of course, Solemn Judgment, double Bottomless, double D Prison, and Torrential. So super standard trap lineup. I think this is just, you know, super good for this deck. Obviously you don't want to play any like discard traps or anything like that. So I really like this deck so far and how it's performing. And then move to the side deck, we got 2 Fossil Dyna. This is going to be mainly for like the Frog Monarch matchup. Anything that's like super special summon reliant, when you go second, you can set this card into a board, and then your opponent is most likely just going to attack it. And yeah, unless they got Stardust up, it's usually a wrap. 2 Sidras. This is for like Machina, Mirror Match, you know, stuff like that. Black Wings, Glad Beast. And then we play 2 DD Crow. This card, like, man, it's one of those cards where I feel like you got to play it, but it's almost mediocre, because like a lot of these decks are just becoming so fast and can really do a lot in one turn. So sometimes DD Crow feels a little weak, but I think it's something that like I have to work on, like trying to get it out of the side and see what's better. I know for a fact that this card right here, Soul Release, is incredible. You draw this at like any point in the game against frogs, and you just take their whole graveyard. Same with like a deck like Quick Draw. You can just take all their Dandelions and Volcanic Shells, whatever. I mean, this card's nuts. And then I play 2 Soul Taker. So the thing I like about this card is it makes Dimensional Alchemist miss timing, and also it can take care of Christia. The thing is with Smashing Ground, you know, if your opponent's got multiple monsters, you don't get to pick. With this, you get to pick, so I do like this card. And then we're playing Triple Dust Tornado just to get rid of those pesky back rows. Floodgates, you know, anything our opponent could be siding in to harm us, get rid of those bottomless and deep prisons. Then we play 2 Pulling the Rug, again for like frog decks. I can play this for like Diva, you know, Caius. I mean, any deck that's summoning those cards, we can side this in against, but mainly it's for frogs. And then we play 1 Starlight Road, because like when we side in multiple, like, you know, side in the Dust Tornadoes and stuff, like we're getting pretty heavy on traps, so we want more protection if we're setting more than one. And then we go to the extra. So we got the Fortress Dragon, of course, for the Sidras, Armory Arm, Cataster, Avenging Knight Parshath. This card's kind of crazy. Black Rose, Brio, Goyo, Stardust, Dark End, Colossal, Tempest Magician, Mistworm, Red Dragon Archfiend, Urquizus, and Gothams. Like this extra deck, it's performing pretty well. It's not like super often you go into it, just when you're using your Plague, or if you know, steal something with Brain, but that's about it. So yeah, without further ado, guys, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a game, show you that. So here we are. We just played against Venom Blast. So what I actually like about this game, like you'll see, it's pretty wild. All right, so our opponent wins the rock, paper, scissors. They go first. They're going to drop Rhoda. Rhoda gets some Stratos. Stratos effect. Get some Infernal Prodigy. Pass. Looks like we're just going to set a Raikou. Set a Bottomless. This is in case our opponent wants to drop a Caius here. At least we have some form of counterplay. Attacks the Raikou. Raikou's going to pop that Stratos. No 3, don't really hit much off the mills. We get Dust Shooted, of course. Man, it's so frustrating. Dust Shooter's so strong here. And he takes the Hamster, which, you know, fair enough. We got a Raikou in hand. You know, I feel like we could have had better cards for him to Dust Shoot. Gonna set that Call. Didn't set the Raikou here just because I'm still unsure of my opponent's deck. Like, so there we go. It's a Singen. Singen's going to attack. Tributes Urquizus. He goes for the Bottomless, of course, so trade it fair. 1 for 1. Opponent gets the Dandelion. And here, I'm not going to lie. So I kind of felt like once he was summoning Drill Warrior, I was like, shit, dude, there's no way I win this game. Like, and you know, I really almost wanted to scoop, but I was like, nah, we can come back from this. So I set the other Raikou. Set the Torrential. Now, usually I wouldn't set Raikou and Torrential, but I don't know if he's going to go battle first, attack Raikou, and then go off in main phase 2, because this deck tends to do that sometimes. And I know that if he attacks, and then, you know, main phase 2 tributes or discards the Dandelion, then he's probably going to try to do something. So that's why I did that, but little did I know he was going to go off in main 1. So he gets the Mally out, summons Plague. And when he summons the Plague is obviously when I Torrential. Can't let him get Stardust out, because our Torrential and our Raikou are both just dead. Drew Gores for turn. Don't have anything, so I just pass on this. Drill Warrior comes back. Gets the Dandy. Attacks direct. I can take that. Don't want to use the call yet. Opponent summons a Cyber Valley. It's going to banish 2. Gets him 2 new cards. Sets a back row. And then here we are. We drew another Fortress. So I spaced the back row, and then I'm like, oh, we can summon the Fortress here, I believe. So that's what I do. I summon the Fortress. I swing at the token. At least this way, Drill Warrior's not beating me for 24. Drill comes back. Gets back to Dandy. Summons Armanite. So this is obviously like a dark quick draw, probably something like Carpath-esque. So he sends Level Eater, which Level Eater's just insane in this deck. Brings that back. Brings back his Plague. Banishes the Drill, gets 2 more tokens. So I'm like, what is he gonna make here? So at first he tries to go for Dark End, but then I think he quickly realized that's not a great play. So he decides to go for Mistworm, which I'm gonna get to rip a card out of his hand here. So use that. I'm telling him I get to look at the hand because he's not showing me. I look, and then he has Gores in hand, so I rip the Gores. If I believe the other cards were Dark Grepher and another card. So I take the hits here, and I drop the Gores. I'm really low on life, but I'm like, okay, this Gores is out. Like, I'm confident I can come back here. So I swing over the Mistworm with Gores, and then I swing over the Level Leader with the token. And then main 2, I'm just going to set D-Prison here. Opponent brings back the Drill Warrior, and I'm like, okay, if he halves and tries to get greedy here and just go for that, then this D-Prison is going to literally probably win me the game. So he decides to half, and yeah, unfortunately for him, I had the D-Prison. Gets rid of the Drill. Sets on the back row. I'm like, okay, we can just hit both of these with Gores and token. So I hit Card Trooper, he draws a card. I'm like, oh, Dust Shoot's definitely going to be live. I mean, it would be with him drawing, but now I get more cards to look at. So here, I believe I take the Gores back out of his hand again, just because I know that's the card that's going to be a problem when I'm trying to go for game. And then the other cards were Grepher, 1-for-1, Infernal Prodigy, and Brain. So he's going to Brain Control here to take the Gores. Summons Grepher. So he thinks he has game here, but pretty sure he forgot about the call he seen in my hand at the beginning of the game. So the Call of Hunter brings back the Fortress. And he uses Grepher in main 2. He's going to dump a Necro Gardener to try to not die. Brings back Love Leader to try to not die. Draw Book. That was a good card. Hit that. And here he decides to save the Love Leader, which was wild to me that he just saved that. Opponent has MST for the call, which is going to kill our Fortress, and he just wraps it up because he has nothing else. Alright, so in this game, I believe during siding, I sided in, let's see, I took out a Thunder King, I put in a Fossil Dyna, I took out the second Thunder King to put in Soul Release, and then I took out Trap Dust Shoot for a DD Crow. I didn't want to go too heavy on like siding the removal. Just a few cards. You know, Thunder King I don't feel like is that strong going second. I feel like Fossil Dyna was better. So our opponent opens Stratos again and D-draws, which is just a nuts opening. So here I'm like, okay, well, obviously our play is to set a Raikou. Opponent's going to write Geki, break the Raikou, which is fine, whatever. You know, I'll take that 2 for 1. And then we get hit with 18. He summons Armanite. Arma's going to send Plague, and he passes. We're going to draw Solemn. I'm going to set the second Raikou, set Solemn. Opponent's going to bring back the Plague here, which I'm like, thinking what he's going to make. Too unsure, but then I remembered he had Mally, so he Mally's out. So he's obviously going to try to make a Stardust here because he probably knows it's another Raikou. So I have to Solemn this. So then he goes and he swings into the Raikou, and I'm going to kill the Stratos here. Get them monsters off the board. So I drew Fossil Dyna. So I'm going to set the Dyna and set a Deep Prison here. So he has Mind Control. He probably thinks it's another Raikou, which, man, if he would have drawn that Mind Control a turn earlier. So then he flips up the Dyna, or checks and sees it's a Dyna. He's like, all right, I'm going to attack with Armanite. So I Deep Prison the Armanite, just because I don't want him killing my Dyna with it after I get it back. So I draw Slow Release. So I'm going to go battle. I'm going to attack here, kill the Level Leader. Main 2, I'm going to Slow Release, get that Level Leader out of here, get all the heroes out, get the Stardust. I just took his whole graveyard. Set that. It's going to be some back and forth here. This Dyna is just putting in work. I mean, against this deck, like Quick Draw relies on special summoning, so this is really tough for him. I'm just going to be able to kind of come back in the game, build a ton of advantage here. Our opponent started with quite a few pluses up on us, and we're going to be so far ahead after this Dyna just puts in the work every turn. As you can see, our opponent's getting nothing. So do Card Trooper. Gonna kill the set. It's a dandy, so no tokens for him. Summons Greffer, and he's like, oh, I finally, you know, got something I can out this with, but I have the Deep Prison. My other card is the Bottomless set still. I didn't want to use it there. Takes the 1200. We're going to set the Card Trooper. I didn't want to set Hamster for obvious reasons. Doesn't really do anything with the Fossil Dyna up. So here, I'm like, just beat him for 12. He takes it, so I'm like, one more attack. But he does have Necro, so I have to kind of try to play a little different. So I drew Caius, and I'm like, oh, I can definitely win here. So I go for battle. He uses Necro. So I'm like, main 2, I'll tribute the Card Trooper, summon Caius. Try to use Caius to banish itself, but he has Torrential, so I lose out there, which is fine. Opponent goes Quick Draw now, summon Cyber Valley, I Torrential, which I'm pretty sure he could have just used Prio here, but he didn't. He uses Return. It's going to bring back his whole field, and this is crazy here. So when he does this, I went Bottomless, but he decides he wants to bring back Destiny Hero instead so he can get Stratos effect to pop. So Stratos is chain 1, my Bottomless is chain 2 to banish all the 1500 Moors. Then we go chain 3, Book of Moon to book the Plague so he can't synchro. And then we go chain 4, MST to hit a back row. That was a wild chain and probably one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me during a game of Edison. So he goes Call for Cyber Valley then. And he's like, oh, I'm going to put in as much damage as possible here. But I have the Trag. Main Chewie's going to try to pick up a few new cards. He goes Rhoda, but he doesn't have a target, I believe. Yep, no more targets. So then the end phase comes. Both of those are banished. And I'm like, oh, I have game here. For sure. Even with the Scapegoat, I'm like, I got this. So I'm going to go pitch a Force, bring back the Fortress, and then I change, or I bring back Plague then, and I change Trag to level 6 by targeting the Caius. And then I'm going to go into Red Dragon Archfiend, which is just going to seal the game because I'm going to kill the tokens and then attack with Fortress for game. So yeah, guys, as you can see, the Machina deck is very, very strong. honestly, like, I didn't have the greatest starts both of those games, and as you can see, if this deck can force out a grind, it will succumb with advantage and take the game over. So I recommend trying out the Machina deck. You can either check out like some of the decks that have topped lately, like the Deck Devastators 3 tournament, or like the Beast Mode circuits. Also, I would just recommend checking out some of the other Edison YouTubers. This is something, you know, I've been kind of getting into, but the community's growing, the content's great. I have plenty more videos to come, so thank you guys for watching.